How's it, guys? It's Dark Soul Ryu saying I'd like to welcome you to our third LP. Yes, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, otherwise known as Ratchet and Clank 2. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what happened to Ratchet and Clank 1? Well, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando was actually the first Ratchet and Clank game in the Ratchet and Clank franchise that I played, and as a result, I didn't really think of going back to Ratchet and Clank 1 until much later. But when I looked back at Ratchet and Clank 1, I didn't really like it too much. Well, you might say to yourself, well, that's because you went from the sequel to the prequel. Well, it wasn't entirely just in gameplay that didn't really gravitate me towards Ratchet and Clank 1. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate the game, I just don't particularly like it. Another thing I probably attributed to it was the characteristics, and by that I mean like the cast as well. You'll notice a difference in between the voice actors of one of our main characters, Ratchet, from Ratchet and Clank 1 to Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. That's because for Ratchet and Clank 1 only, the voice actor for Ratchet was Mikey Kelly, whereas from Ratchet and Clank Going Commando and onward to the present today, it is James Arnold Taylor. And I really think James does a really good job with Ratchet's voice, whereas I didn't think Mikey didn't do all too well. And so, as a result, voice actors do attribute many things to a character and how the story's going to go. So when Insomniac continued to write with James as Ratchet, they changed him up a bit, and it just all came together really well. In addition to that, as the games go on and as sequels tend to, the story got a little more built up, which is another reason why we're playing the Ratchet and Clank series. And of course, the gameplay getting much better. I do not believe that some of the gimmicks in Ratchet and Clank 2 were present in Ratchet and Clank 1. So like I said, I don't hate Ratchet and Clank 1, I just don't prefer it. And that's why we're just going to go ahead and start off with the first game in the Ratchet and Clank series that I start off with, and that's Going Commando. As a result, I also thought I was going to have to go ahead and give a quick synopsis of Ratchet and Clank 1 since we were skipping it, but you know what? I think it's better to just go ahead and let the game explain a little bit, because some of the stuff that happened in Ratchet and Clank 1 isn't necessarily important to the plot line of Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, but some returning characters are there, so you might not get a few things. But like I said, if it really becomes a problem, I'll actually go ahead and make a separate video, and I'll put it in the playlist for Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. I'll put it in front of this one, go ahead and explaining all that. But I digress. You might also be asking, well, this is a third LP, but, you know, does that mean you're doing a side LP to Pokemon Yellow? Well, yes and no. Because, see, the last episode of Pokemon Yellow that I uploaded is going to be a bit of a rant. That I uploaded with Eric, which is episode 7. After that recording, and after Eric went home, I actually found out that something was going on with YouTube and Nintendo. This is the moment, the point when I'm recording this, May 21st, 2013. Right now on YouTube, which is going on, is Nintendo is actually starting to do ID claims on their videos containing Nintendo licensed video games on LLPers. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to go into the depths of this, but I'm going to cover the basics. It pretty much means is that those who are getting ad revenue via YouTube partnership program for videos that have been ID'd by Nintendo are not going to get the money for it. They're not going to get the money for their effort of making the videos and recording a commentary, etc. You know, that's just not fair. You might ask yourself, well, I mean, doesn't Nintendo have that right? Well, yes, they do technically, but the point is, they haven't been doing that. They haven't been exercising this right, and they're pretty much saying that it was okay for LPers to do this for years now. But suddenly they start doing this, where they start taking on and IDing the ad revenue for other LPers conveniently when the Wii U isn't selling nearly as good as they hoped it would. And so that's completely wrong that they're doing this. And as a result, I'm not saying at all, even at this point in time, I'm not a well-known LPer, but in respect and in gratitude towards the LPers who got me into LPing, who got me interested and, you know, gave me something to look forward to and have fun with in their videos, like I'm hoping to do with my friends and anyone watching these videos. That was a mouthful. But out of respect for those people and how Nintendo is mistreating them, big fans who featured their games and etc., it's just not right. And so, in support of those people, I'm actually going to go ahead and put Nintendo-related LPs on hold. In which case, right now, it's just Pokemon Yellow, which is unfortunate because we were starting to get into some really good stuff in Pokemon Yellow. But you know what? Don't. It's not written in stone. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to pan out. But until further notice, as of right now, Pokemon Yellow is going to go on a bit of a hold until this blows over, and it's got to, because it's a really bad move, not only ethically speaking, business-wise on Nintendo's part, but just period. I mean, it's just this huge thing, which I'm not going to get into too much. Thankfully, I didn't rant about this nearly as long as I did in my first round of commentary, but anyway, I digress. So we're going to go ahead and play Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. This is a very fun third-person shooter platformer game. I really enjoy it. Now, looking back at the game, I actually enjoy, it made me appreciate more of the humor in some of the older Ratchet & Clank games versus some of the newer ones, which are a little bit off. But I digress. What I'm really trying to say is don't load. What I'm really trying to say is that looking back at this game, the humor was probably more appealing to me. One, because I was younger. And two, because I saw some of the much better humor which came across later. So what I'm trying to say is that while the humor isn't all that great in this game, it's not horrible. So I've seen that from just a few other LPers. I believe Scottish Duck was doing this. He does the Ratchet & Clank series as well, and I was watching him, and you know what? He made a good point. The humor isn't nearly as appealing or as well thought out as I thought it was. But I digress. This is totally up for interpretation. I know how Chuck Conroy feels sometimes in his LPs. I know I make these critical notes about the game. It's not like I hate it. It's just things that I think should be brought up in relation to how the LPers, feels about the game. Of course, you have every right to feel different. Please, I encourage this. So let's analyze this stuff, not just about solidly the story or the plot, or just the mechanics, the humor, the character choices, the voice actors even. Let's talk about this. This is what I want to do on the channel. But I digress. So let's go ahead and start this game off. Now, this game has voice acting. This is going to be the first game that I'm doing on the channel that has voice acting. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully not to accidentally run into and talk over some of those, but this is the second time the video game got bored. It's like you're taking too long. All right, let's go ahead and jump in here.
Welcome back to Behind the Hero. Tonight's heroes are the duo who recently restored peace and order to our galaxy, Ratchet and Clank. So, gentlemen, tell us about your latest incredible adventures.
Well, as you can imagine, we've been pretty busy. After Drek's defeat, there were parades, press conferences, fancy dress balls.
And the wiener roast at Al's.
Oh yeah, that. And then things started to slow down a bit. After that,
There was the grand opening at Groovy Lube.
Right. I think that was last week.
6 months ago.
We're still pretty busy, but in a more, domestic sense.
Yesterday, I flushed out my radiator core.
I guess no one needs a hero right now.
Miss Noodlebottom, I found our man. Welcome.
What the?
I'm Abercrombie Fizzwidget, founder of the Megacorp Company in the Bogon Galaxy.
Bogon?
I'm sorry to incapacitate you, but our entire galaxy is in a very precocious situation. I must humbly request your sustenance on a mission of dire urgitude, a mission of superfluous peril, a mission of unequivocal imperitude.
Did that make any sense?
So,
No, it didn't.
you need me to go on a dangerous mission in another galaxy.
Indubitably. A few days ago, this top-secret biological experiment was stolen from our testing laboratory by this dupliferous criminal mastermind, and I need you to get the experiment back.
We'll do it.
We will?
Greg, I have precipitated your recalcitrance and have made special improvisations for you. We are prepared to give you a job as the head accountant for Megacorp, plus a penthouse suite in lovely Megapolis, and our state-of-the-art robotic masseuse.
Deal.
As for you, Ratchet, I'll need you in superlatory shape While in transit to the Pokon Galaxy, you will undergo heavy training and conditioning, including martial arts, heavy weaponry, survival skills, stealth, macrame, ballroom dance, and origami.
2 weeks later, wow.
We've used bipolar vector regurgitation to track the thief's location to a flying base in Sector 7. Infiltrate the base and retrieve the experiment.
Sir, ready for launch.
So yeah, with the course of 2 weeks, we're already at Commando status. Must be the crash course. Well,
Ratchet reporting. I'm on final approach to coordinates 37 Alpha.
Good luck. I'm counting on you.
Affirmative. Beginning radio silence.
he actually made sense there for a second. So yeah, just one of those things. Looking back, I don't find Fizzwidget's obvious bad grammar and vocabulary to be too charming. Now, let's see here. Just checking out the controls for me. That should be fine. Alright, really quick. Mainstay of Ratchet & Clank as a third-person shooter is the guns. The guns, on a basic functioning level, some of them are just equivalent to other basic weaponry that you would find in any gun game. The Lancer is effectively our machine gun. The Gravity Bomb is effectively our grenade launcher with an AoE or area of effect attack. Very powerful, but as a result has very few shots. You press X, you jump.
To select weapons, hold triangle and select.
Oh
an
yes, the
icon
lovely
left analog
tutorial
stick.
voice. Anyway, let's see here.
Press circle to fire.
I
your
guess not.
weapon.
Ah, dude. Okay, yeah. The reason I was like stitching out a little bit there is because of the camera. So let's go ahead and adjust that. You'll find that in some games like this. So go ahead and make that reversed. Okay. Yeah, you'll find in some games like this one's the points where the camera is actually with you and sometimes against you. Basically, where you're near edges or corridors like this, where it decides to lock and not lock, and if you go back here, it decides, oh, I have to go back in lock mode, and that really can discombobulate you in your movement. So if I sketch around like that, that's why. So anyway, before we go over here, I'm just gonna explain basic movements. X is jump, X in the air, double jump. If you press square, you go ahead and melee with our wrench, which we use as a double-sided axe. If you jump and then you do a jumping attack, holding down triangle gets us the weapons ring, which we can quick select from. If you double tap triangle, you will switch to the last weapon you use, but since we only have 2, that's very simple. Up at the very top is our health. We have 4 hits right now, and if you hold down for the weapons ring, you can see all that. And of course, on the top right is our money. In this case, currency, which is in bolts. Yes. Now, another thing you'll notice, or probably not, since you didn't cover it, but a difference between Ratchet 1 and Going Commando is that the price ranges have gone up, but thankfully so has attaining some bolts from enemies or crates. You hold down L2, you can go ahead and strafe, which locks you where you're facing. It's mainstay of how I fight in this game. Now you'll notice we only have Ratchet right now. Well, that's because Clank is in Megatropolis, or Megapolis, or whatever. Generic Utopia city name here.
You're at full health, so you don't need.
Thank you,
another.
Rennet voice. Or tutorial voice, I should say. Because of how high prices can be, and just for the necessary, or just the price range for even ammo sometimes, you want to just go ahead and let that be covered by going and taking the time and hitting those crates. It might seem tedious, but it really helps. You know, I was thinking, sometimes you might not just want to use the wrench. Well, the reason you want to use the wrench is for small enemies like those, like orange orbs. Not for necessarily for big enemies like that blue robot. You want to use your guns on those. That's because, if you'll notice, not only do we have experience represented by the orange bar, our guns have experience. Yeah, I mean, you can see very little right now. We haven't used it too much, but there you go on the top left. You can see a tiny bit of orange there as well. That's because in Ratchet & Clank Going Commando, your guns upgrade or effectively evolve in their own right. and become much better. Sometimes gaining, always gaining more firepower, of course. Sometimes gaining more ammo and other options. Thank you, I'll go ahead and do that. It just says use a gravity bomb because there's a bunch of enemies near each other. Imagine that. It's gonna take this guy out. And we get... Oh look, there's the experiment. That was easy. Okay guys, that was an awesome game. Hope you liked it.
I see it's time to update my security forces.
Whoa, no, hey, no, look, I'm just here to fix the transflexor coil.
Nice try. Give my regards to Megacorp. Finish him.
Well, so yes, that thief is basically just known as the thief. I know, very generic, but you know, it's not necessarily need to be any more complex than it is. I do find him rather funny. He's not hilarious, but he's amusing. This game, all in all, I found it really funny again when I was a kid, but now that I look back, it gets a few laughs out of me. It's nothing terrible. But you know, game's two parts, story and gameplay. In which case, the gameplay for Ratchet Clank is always very fun. So if nothing else, this game has that to fall back on. But no, its story is good, and its humor is good. It's just, looking back in what Insomniac produced later, Ratchet 3 and so on, it's just that you know they can do better. Or they have done it.
Thugs for less. If it ain't broke, we'll break it.
Right. I'm in the market for some security.
You bring the cash, we'll bring the thrash.
Good. I need your best men to meet me at these coordinates.
Nope, still don't need an attack. Well, it makes sense. I mean, this is a tutorial spot. You know, even if you do get hit once or twice, you really should be in any danger of dying. Speaking of difficulty, the Ratchet & Clank games, you know, they're decent difficulty. They're not easy to where you'll actually get bored or just notice like this is easy and disappointing, but it keeps you aware. It's fun. It's fine on its own. Oh, that camera. Whoa. So yeah, now you can see the experience bar loading up on the Lancer. Now, even though... Thank you. That's just saying you can go into first person build on L1. I hardly ever use this. It's just hardly ever used. Maybe when we get our sniper gun equivalent, but nah, not right now. What I was saying last is that even though the Lancer, it's pretty good. It's an okay gun, but it's just that we're gonna have access to much better guns and equipment later. That even as it gets upgraded, I'm probably gonna replace it. So that's why. The gravity bomb is very useful. I'm probably not going to replace that, but I am going to keep other guns on the back burner in favor for getting experience with other guns, because naturally you want to get your guns more experience because they get better just in general. More ammunition sometimes, always more firepower. You know, it makes sense. Okay, this is the last area before we head out. And that's the tutorial. Not even a tutorial boss. Not necessarily needed. Nice going.
Ratchet checking in, sir.
Incredulous. I didn't expect to hear from you again. So soon.
There was a slight problem. The thief escaped with the experiment, and I have no idea where he was headed.
Not to worry. I just received an emission which may lubricate the matter.
Do you have any maps for this quadrant of the galaxy?
You bet, mister! We got galactic maps, 3D maps, fold-outs, cutouts, maps to the stars, and their homes.
Sorry about that. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Could you know, take care of this?
Perimeter defenses deactivated.
You forgot your change.
I'm on my way.
And so now we finally get to effectively the first actual stage on planet Uzla. Uzla, whatever.
For a map, press select or R3.
Now, speaking of which, you will notice on every planet we have effectively an area that has 2 question marks. The first question mark is usually your primary objective, while the second one, the secondary objective. The reason I say secondary is because some of them, not all, but some of them are optional, usually getting you a gadget or an item that will be very useful. However, sometimes it'll be a secondary objective that isn't required at this moment. But you'll eventually come across a part in the story which you cannot proceed unless you actually accomplish that secondary objective. In order to resolve this, I'm just going to go ahead and take care of both question marks, period. But right now we're going to go ahead and make our way to this question mark, which is our primary one. Also over here, you'll see crates that are blue. If I hadn't mentioned them before, these will give us ammunition. I'm not sure what the priority is and what the game determines will give us ammunition for what gun. It's usually what we need most of. And if not, it's usually whatever weapon we're using most often at the point. But here are the vendors. Usually find them at the base where you land. This is where you can buy new guns, depending on where you are in the story. New guns will be accessible later. And it's also where you can replenish your ammunition. The chopper we're not going to use. I just don't like the gun. It's just not all that really great. The blitz gun, however, we are going to use. It's effectively our rifle, but it's at 15,000 bolts. It's pretty expensive, so we're going to have to do some game progression until then. Let's see, how are we going? About 21.5 minutes. Yeah, we can keep going. Okay, now unfortunately we don't have Clank, so we can't go a little bit faster.
Throw your wrench. Hold
Thank you.
R1.
See a bunch of guys. I'm gonna go ahead and just blast them away with a gravity bomb. Come on. A little closer. There we go. I think I got the last guy back there. No, I didn't. Oh well. Then he gets a lancer to the face. So yeah, a bunch of these little swarming enemies, just go ahead and melee them with the wrench. Break the crates because why not? Also, in some maps, there will be secret areas. This one's not much of a secret area, it's just more enemies for you to get experience from and whatnot.
Your maximum nanotech has increased. Defeat more enemies to increase it further.
Gonna get rid of that guy. It's not nice popping out of the swamp like that. Ah. No, I already started with a Lancer. I was just saying there was a bunch of enemies over here, but no, I already hit some of them with the Lancer, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep shooting. No, Scottish Duckfeld. He was like, it's Ratchet and Clank, and you just shoot things. I guess I need Eric in the... I could use Eric in these ones. Some of their thoughts. These guys look like they take about 4 Lancer shots.
Press triangle.
Okay.
Interrupt message.
Let's go ahead and break this. Yeah, gravity bomb. Which I'm probably going to need right here, if I recall correctly. Not for just for these two. Yikes, I took 3 hits already. Shame on me. Yeah, I'm just going to use Lancer. Oh, yikes. I am not going to die. No way. This isn't a difficult game.
You've acquired nanotech. Your health has
Thank you,
improved.
obvious. Okay, here we come across our first boss slash sub-boss, I don't know. I mean, it has a health bar, so I guess it's a boss. Now, with this, probably mention that with Ratchet and Clank, your guns will gain experience based on whichever gun deals the killing blow, not whichever is the one dealing damage as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and weaken this guy with the Lancer. Ow. Cannot take one more hit. Great. And finish him off with the Gravity Bomb. Now watch the gravity bomb's experience go up. That hit him! Okay, it just took a while to register. But yeah, it went up pretty good, as well as our health, so that's nice. Clearly, I need it. I'm getting too distracted trying to think of what to say. Oh, come on, I hit that fourth one. Alright, let's get some ammunition, because we can use it. 25 Lancer, 25 Lancer, 1 gravity bomb. Alright. And now we come across our first gadget. Gadgets are kind of like key items in the game. You need them for specific puzzles or obstacles. In this case, we have the dynamo.
The dynamo activates machinery. Press circle to use the dynamo to zap that activator.
Now each activator is different. In this case, that activator is going to activate a holographic platform, which does not last forever. The dynamo's activators do not last forever. So they're kind of like timed puzzles as well.
Thank you for choosing Megacorp, where our customers come first.
Oh, shit. Almost fell off there. That would have been embarrassing. As it is, I run the risk of being embarrassed by dying here. Who dies on the first level? What am I, 4?
To center the camera, tap L1.
I will take that into consideration. Blast these guys.
Shirt and shoes are
Get away! Don't kill me! Alright, just crates. I'm a long way from 15,000. Alright, gravity bomb much needed. Let's see here, on my last recording I was about 30 minutes at this point, so I guess it's a good thing that commentary got accidentally deleted. Which is fine, because the commentary wasn't all that great either, so it's actually a blessing in disguise. Bunch of crates, just gotta break them. Okay. Basic platforming puzzle. Nothing much. Over here is something we cannot access until a little bit later. So you go ahead and come back, and we might actually consider coming back here because we might want one of the collectibles that's up there. Just making a note of that. Hope I remember, because even during casual play I have a tendency just not to remember coming back here. Small little obstacle, and we finally reached the end of our first objective. Come on. There we go.
Ratchet, come in. Are you there?
Copy, Mr. Fizzwidget.
Listen, I have some new information on our experiment's wherewithal. The thief was indemnified at Megacorp's Mactar Resort. Also, the thugs have towed a moon-sized jamming array into Mactar Resort orbit.
Should I take it out?
Affirmulous! It's disconfabulating our annual Galactic Gladiators broadcast. See for yourself.
Ask yourself, are you man enough, hero enough, insane enough to step into the ring with 2 of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy? If you answered yes, you're a big, fat liar. But that's okay, because Megacorp is bringing Galactic Gladiators into your home for a special Mega View event. First, it's survival of the fittest in our bio competition. Be there as Chainblade unleashes his fury on our gladiator guest contestants. Chainblade has gone undefeated in 500 straight matches, but if the bio division doesn't do it for you, our robotics division will. Taste the adrenaline as contestants face off against our 4-armed bandit, the B2 Brawler. Brawler. No living creature is a match for this machine. Watch 6 tons of Carbonox alloy hunt for its prey. There's no consolation prize, cause this bad boy's programmed to show no mercy. So, what are you waiting for? Call now to bring Chainblade and the B2 Brawler into your living room. But put away the fine china. The Galactic Gladiators, only on Megaview. Call your provider now.
Chainblade, huh? I've got the coordinates. Ratchet out.
Okay, and with that, we finally have the dynamo, and first objective complete, and our first part done. So, Yes, I know. I just explained that the first time we got here. Alright, with that, we're gonna go ahead and end off the first part. Poor Ratchet. That's my fault for getting distracted halfway in. Let's go ahead and fill our ammunition while we're at it. And hopefully next time we'll be able to pick up the Blitz gun. So yes, finally ending this part off. Thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully Pokemon Yellow will resume when Nintendo stops all this nonsense. Go ahead and if you like the video, please go ahead and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when I update more videos, which is fairly frequent. And with that, I will see you guys in part 2. We take out the second, excuse me.